What's up, guys? This is my 2017 NBA playoff predictions video. I tried to upload this last night and I had some technical issues, so I'm going to get right to it. Let's start in the West. I've got Golden State and Portland. I have Golden State winning that series in 6 games. No offense to Portland. I know they have a good team. They've got Damian Lillard. He's a star. And that's why I'm saying the series will go 6. Probably could even go 5. Because Golden State just has too many weapons. And I think they're just going to be a little bit too much for Portland. But out of respect for Portland, I'll say that it will go it will go 6 games. Okay? Next, moving on to the LA Clippers and the Utah Jazz. Now, I know Utah, they had a good season. They probably turned a lot of heads and won more games than people were expecting. But in my opinion, this is the Clippers' chance to really make a statement this year. And I have the Clippers winning this series in 5 games. And I know that might seem a little bit much, but like I say, I think it's time for the Clippers to, if they really are a good team, if they really want to prove that, they need to take out Utah in 5 games. Might go 6, but I think it'll be over in 5 in the Clippers' favor. Moving on to Memphis and San Antonio. Now, I like the Memphis Grizzlies as a team. I think it's amazing that Vince Carter is still in amazing shape. I've been a Raptor fan my whole life, so I'm always going to be a Vince Carter fan. I like the Grizzlies team, but I like San Antonio just that much more. Memphis might have, you might think that they would have an advantage because they got Michael Connolly, Zach Randolph, Marc Gasol, Vince Carter, who hopefully will be a factor in that series. I would love to see Memphis win in 7. But what I'm saying is, I think San Antonio's playoff experience, just the experience of being there and the way that they play, regardless of the good players that they have, and we know that they do have a lot of great players, and I don't need to list them off. San Antonio takes that series in 6 games. Now, moving on to final matchup of the first round in the West. Houston versus OKC. Now, really, this is a battle of James Harden versus Russell Westbrook, and the matchup, at least on paper, favors OKC because you got Russell Westbrook, Victor Oladipo. OKC's got some, I like their front court players more than I like the Rockets front court or starting front court. But I think even though OKC might have an advantage, I think James Harden will upset Russell Westbrook and OKC and win that series in 7 games. Now, don't hate on me for saying that. That's just my opinion, guys. That's just the way I feel. So second round, that means it would be Golden State versus the Clippers. I have Golden State winning in that series in 7 games, and that might shock a lot of people, but like I say, I think the Clippers will take a big step forward this year, and I think they can take Golden State to 7 games. I don't think they'll win the series, and 7 games might be a bit of a stretch, but I like the Clippers as a team. I really do, and even though Golden State is stacked, there's potential for that series to go 7, but Golden State wins it no matter what in 7 games or less. The other second round matchup in the West, San Antonio versus Houston. I think this series also goes 7 games, and it will go in the favor of the San Antonio Spurs. I think their playoff experience is just going to be too much for Houston, and it's the way they play. They're unselfish with the ball. I think James Harden, if he gets by OKC, is not going to be able to get by San Antonio. But it will be a great series. I think it can go 7 games, but I'm picking San Antonio in 7. That means the Western Conference Final would be Golden State versus San Antonio, and I'm picking Golden State again in 7 games, and I know I'm picking the distance for a lot of these series, guys, but I really do believe a lot of these series will go the distance, will go 7 games. Golden State in 7, they move on to their second straight NBA final. Let's get into the East. Boston and Chicago. I think Boston's a good team. They've proven that all year. They've been playing well, and they got the first seed in the East right at the end of the season. And I think Cleveland did that on purpose to play Toronto earlier in the playoffs, but you can't take anything away from Boston. Now, that being said, any team that has Dwayne Wade on it, in this case the Chicago Bulls, even though they're not the Chicago Bulls they were a few years ago, with more star players, I think the Bulls will steal at least 2 games. The series will go 6. Boston will win in 6 games. Moving on to Washington and Atlanta. I think it's a travesty that these two teams have to play each other in the first round. It's going to be a great series. It's going to go 7 games, in my opinion. I have Washington winning in 7 games. And that's because I believe that even though Atlanta has a great starting front court with Paul Millsap and Dwight Howard, Bradley Beal and John Wall and company, Washington, they're just going to be too much for Atlanta in the end, and they will win in 7 games, possibly 6, but I think with the home court advantage, they win in 7. Moving on to Cleveland and Indiana. Now, I think it's safe to say Cleveland is expecting to play Toronto in the second round, but they've got the tougher first round matchup, in my opinion. Because Indiana, look what Indiana did last year versus Toronto. That series should have never won 7 games, and it did. And that's because Toronto squandered some of those games. But, my point is Indiana isn't going to lay down for anybody. And I know Cleveland is Cleveland. They're stacked just like Golden State is. A lot of people are expecting them to get back to the NBA Finals and have a rematch of last year. But this first round series versus Indiana will go 6 games, and don't count Indiana out. They've got a potential to shock the world and upset Cleveland. I think it's a long shot from happening, but what I'm saying is it could happen. Toronto and Milwaukee. I already did another video based on this series, and I appreciate the people that watched. So many people watched that. Didn't expect to get that many views. But I've already talked about this series. What I will say is Toronto's secondary scoring needs to be involved in this series if they want to win it quickly. And I predicted that they will take care of Milwaukee in 5 games. JV, Serge Ibaka, Patrick Patterson, PJ Tucker, Corey Joseph, all of those guys, DeMar Carroll, those 6 guys need to be key factors, whether it be defensively or offensively. Offensively would be probably the best help. We know what to expect from Lowry and DeRozan, but the secondary scoring, the secondary unit for the Raptors needs to step up. So, second round in these Boston and Washington. As much as I like Washington and I would want them to win this series, I think Boston is just going to be too much in the end. Would love to see Washington get to the conference final, but I think, Boston's played well all year, and Washington didn't get off to a great start, so, and I know you can't base it on the things on the regular season too much, but I still like Boston over Washington is what I'm saying. Cleveland and Toronto. Now, people are probably going to be mad at me if you've watched the video to this point when I say that Toronto in 7. Okay? And the reason I'm predicting Toronto to slay the Dragon and beat Cleveland is because as an undermanned squad last year, missing one of their best players in Jonas Valanciunas, Toronto took 2 games from Cleveland. Okay? And that was with not a lot of rest between series. And because I expect Indiana to take 2 games from Cleveland in the first round, Toronto will have that at least extra day of rest. And they're facing Cleveland earlier. If they stay healthy with more rest between the first and second round, yes, they can beat Cleveland. I'm sorry, but Cleveland is not untouchable in my mind. They can beat Cleveland. So the Eastern Conference final would be Boston and Toronto, and I'm picking Toronto to upset Boston in 7 games. Possibly could happen in 6 games, but I think the reason I'm picking it this way is because I think Boston-Toronto would be the more entertaining Eastern Conference final, and these two teams are very evenly matched, so I would give the edge just slightly to Toronto in 7 games, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a Raptors fan. I truly believe that Toronto, if they got to the conference final and faced Boston, or anybody for that matter, they would win in 7 games. So that means that my NBA final prediction is Golden State and Toronto. And please, guys, don't hate on me too much for predicting it that way, but I'm picking Golden State to win their second NBA title in 3 years, beating Toronto in 6 games. There, I didn't pick Toronto to win the NBA championship because I don't think, even if they get there, I don't think it would happen. If they play Golden State, if it works out this way, there is potential for that series to go 7 games, I think, but I think it would be OKC still in the end. That's just my opinion, guys. That's all I got to say in the video. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, and please comment down below. Tell me how you think the NBA playoffs are gonna play out. And I'll see you in the next video.